Hi, Jeff Murrah here. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today, November the 8th, we are doing an election special. What I'm going to be doing is going over some of the famous election controversies in Texas history. Um, Now, at this point, I know most people, when you hear that, you think of the whole Box 13 issue. I did a whole separate video on the Box 13, so that's about all that I'm going to say about the Box 13 down um, in the border. Uh, and that was not the only election controversy that happened in Texas. There were several. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over those. The first one, early part of the 20th century, 1928. What was going on in 1928? Well, you had the Democratic National Convention in Houston, Texas. And at the convention, the prominent people that they were going to nominate, in fact, he was nominated and voted on, was Al Smith and Jesse Jones. Smith and Jones. That was going to be the ticket in the presidential election. But somehow that was changed. And a politician by the name of Franklin Delano Roosevelt ended up being the Democrats' man for that election. So that's one of those squirrely election oddities that happened in Texas, because how is it that the convention nominates someone, votes on him, approves him, yet the candidate ends up being someone else? Well, thank you for the comment, Art. And then, about the time that you think that's done, we also had some controversies about 1939, 1940. Once again, involving Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And in this case, most of the people in America felt like Roosevelt has had his 2 terms as president. That's enough. And a lot of people were very fed up with the politics of Roosevelt and how he often crammed things through, especially during the Depression and some of the financially hard times that they were going through. And one of those that felt that way about him was John Nance Garner, his vice president. In fact, Garner had assembled a group of people around him. In fact, they were called the Garner Gang, that felt very strongly that he could win the presidency, and they were all gung-ho for that campaign. Gee, something happened, and FDR ran again a 3rd time, and John Nance Garner got in line and went ahead and supported FDR in his campaigns. And then the next controversial election in Texas was 1948. Well, actually, there was one before that had a little bit of controversy. Because Johnson was running as a candidate against someone, and they just barely beat him. And Johnson said that's never going to happen again. And so there was the controversy in the 1948 Democratic primary, where Johnson was going against Coke Stevenson. There were allegations of ballot stuffing in that election because it was won by just a few thousand votes. Then the next big one was 1960. And this was a presidential election, actually on this very day, November the 8th. And that was the election that had Nixon and Kennedy. And Nixon and Kennedy were going neck to neck. I mean, people don't realize it, but Kennedy just barely squeezed out a victory in that election. In fact, everything hinged on two states, Illinois and Texas. In Illinois, Kennedy only won by 9,000 votes. 9,000 people. Keep in mind how many, you're talking the U.S. population in the millions, and 9,000 is not many votes. And then in Texas, Kennedy won by a margin of 45,000 votes. 45,000, once again, is not a very large number. And there was some debate as to whether or not to contest the election. Nixon chose not to, although the reason presented is one of altruism. The reality is there were no laws in Texas concerning how to handle a recount. So had they gone ahead and contested the election results, there was no procedure. Now, whether that was an oversight by the Texas legislature or done intentionally, we'll never know. These days, there are procedures and safeguards in place where you can go ahead and address recount issues. But back in 1960, that was not the case. So Texas is one of those states that has not been free of election controversies and continues to be a place where there's a lot of controversies, a lot of arguments over elections. I do find it interesting how with most of these controversies, the 1948, the 1960, and 1940, I'll share some common factors. 3 letters. LBJ. I know I don't typically deal with more modern politics, but I felt like, hey, it's election day. I'll go ahead and cover it because people are interested in those historic events. And I tried to deal with it without taking sides politically. Other than some of my own distrust of LBJ, because he's known for shenanigans, but I may have to get into the LBJ Sam Houston connection one day. But anyways, I hope you're having a good day. Do your civic responsibilities, and until next time, this is Jeff Murrah wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.